Get fired up, Bears fans, because it is playoff game day. This is Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Coming up, myself and our Packers Report host, Joey Peterson, filmed a full joint preview, about 20 minutes or so. So stay tuned for that. We break down this game from all angles. I think you'll enjoy it, as this is obviously a huge game and a huge rivalry. Third time ever the Bears and the Packers meet up in the playoffs. The Bears won in 1941. The Packers won in 2010. And now they play again here in the 2025 season in January of 2026. Want to just get the final injury news out there that we have before the game tonight. Starting with the Bears, we know who's out. CJ Gardner-Johnson, Amen Ogbongbemiga, and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka are not playing in this game, as they are still in the concussion protocol. They will not be out there tonight. Kyler Gordon, still technically questionable. The Bears have until 3 o'clock today to activate him. They have an open roster spot. He posted on TikTok yesterday that he is playing, that see you Saturday. So I'll put it at 98% he's playing. I'd be shocked if he didn't. Now, Braxton Jones is also questionable. He practiced this week. They did open his practice window. If they activate him, they would have to cut someone else. I would guess probably like Jordan McFadden would be that player if they were to make that switch. So we'll see if they activate Braxton tonight. For the Packers, 5 players are questionable. It was 6, but yesterday Dontayvion Wicks got ruled out. He did not clear concussion protocol, the wide receiver, so he is not playing. Zach Tom, Javon Bullard are the 2 big ones to start. Tom, their starting right tackle, who hasn't played in the last few weeks, and Bullard, who got banged up in Week 18. Bullard was limited all week. Tom practiced on Wednesday, but then they held him out of practice on Thursday. Sounds like that's going to be a game-time decision. Malik Willis listed as questionable, but the expectation is that he'll be healthy enough to be Jordan Love's backup. Nick Neiman and Warren Brinson, a couple of backups, they are questionable as well. Everybody else for both teams, healthy enough to not be on the injury report and ready to go. So there you have it. Bears, Packers, the stage is set. Producer Colin and I will be live at 5 o'clock Central tonight for a 2-hour pregame show. So subscribe and join us for that. And if you want to support the program, if you want to crush the Packers Report and new subscribers, let's finish this off. Hit that subscribe button. I'm fired up. Today's the day. Let's freaking go. FGB, bear down. Full preview coming up next. We are back at it. Bears, Packers, Part 3, and the stakes are even higher. Harrison Graham of Chicago Bears Now. That is Joey Peterson of the Packers Report. The 2-7 matchup in the NFC wild card, Joey. The stage is set for Saturday night. Prime Video. I heard the NFL threw Prime a bone. They're playing the long game with these streaming services, I think. But it's going to be a spectacle. It was Saturday night a few weeks ago, a magical game at Soldier Field, and here we are again, little rubber match.
Yeah, it's so fun. We've talked about it all season long on my channel. The way you win these football games against really good teams is you got to win the last 5 minutes. And hell, if you look at the last 2 times these teams have played, it's really the team that's won the last 2 minutes. Throw away the first 3 quarters and 10 minutes of this ball game. It's going to come down to who can make that big play late. Packers did it in Week 14. Bears obviously did it multiple times. Last 2 times these teams faced off. Cannot wait for Saturday night.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun scene, a spectacle. Just to be clear, we are filming this on Wednesday, so kind of keep an eye on those injury reports depending on when we publish these on our channel. So want to get that out there. But this line early, Joey, and again, this is as of Wednesday, it opened Packers -1.5. It shifted to Bears -1.5. Now it's back Green Bay, so that's going to continue to fluctuate with money coming in. That over-under has dropped. Weather could be pretty bad in this game. I think that could play a big factor, a potential snowstorm hitting through Chicago, so that'll be interesting if that ends up playing out. Let's talk about Jordan Love, because he has not played since he was knocked out of that Bears-Packers game in Week 16. He did clear concussion protocol before the Week 18 game, but with the Packers locked into the 7 seed, Matt LaFleur rested the bulk of those starters.
what are we expecting here? It certainly sounds like he's full go, but you do wonder if there's some level of a rust factor early in this football game.
Yeah, I think that's what this football game is going to ultimately come down to is Jordan Love's play. Maybe not as much now with the weather and the snow. Probably going to be a lot more run the football. But, like, if you look at his playoff games so far, his one win, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. His 2 losses, 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And it's going to be even more important this year with a defense that does not turn the football over, which is the Green Bay Packers defense this season. I'm expecting to see the Jordan Love that we got used to seeing through the first 3/4 this year, where he was playing really, really good football. I think, in my opinion, though, the onus falls more on this wide receiver core and these playmakers. Josh Jacobs is middle of the pack in rushing yards of rushes of 10 yards or more. They don't have a single receiver that's top 50 in yards after catch. So Jordan Love can only do so much. Sometimes it's on these other guys' backs to do something with the football once he gets it in their hands.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the running game is going to be a huge part of this. It does seem like Jacobs is as healthy as he's been in a while. I don't even think he was on the first
He wasn't.
injury
First time since week 11. He hasn't been on the injury report.
Not on the injury report. That's a good sign for Green Bay. You know, when I think about what Ben Johnson is going to try to do in this game, you got to think he's going to be watching that Baltimore Packers tape and say, okay, I get it, we don't have Derrick Henry, but the Bears have a good offensive line. Ben Johnson's run game concepts are really good. The Packers, without Micah Parsons in general, have not been great defensively. Like, if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm trying to lean on that offensive line early in this game and force Green Bay to stop it.
Yeah, and it's funny. In this ball game, you might be missing a guy like Devontae Wyatt more than you miss a guy like Micah Parsons, just because how great he was in run defense. That's going to be a massive, massive part of this game, like you mentioned. No, they don't have Derrick Henry, but Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift, what they've been able to do, like those two combined, I think equal more than a Derrick Henry. That's going to be a big, big question mark in this ball game. How is Jeff Hafley going to be able to help his defense that's maybe lacking some talent up front right now to try to not lose this football game? It's going to be a big game for Quay Walker, big game for Edgerrin Cooper as well.
Yeah, in my opinion, and you've watched closer, obviously, from a Green Bay standpoint, I think Quay Walker's kind of had an average year. Cooper's certainly been the better player.
Yep.
So I'm just fascinated in general. When you play a team 3 times in 6 weeks, you know each other pretty well. So, like, what new wrinkles will we see from these staffs? These are clearly good coaching staffs. Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur, 2 of the better offensive minds in the NFL. Dennis Allen's been under some fire recently, but they've dealt with injuries all year. I'll be curious to see what wrinkles he has, and it sounds like Kyler Gordon will play in this game, so he could be a potential X factor. And then obviously Jeff Hafley, can he flex his muscle a little bit and show that, hey, just because Micah Parsons is out doesn't mean that we can't find a way to make enough plays in this game. So, that this third matchup, it's how much different stuff do we actually see this time around? I'm fascinated to see that play out.
I'm just really looking forward to the chess match between these guys, Jeff Hafley and Ben Johnson. The interesting thing, obviously, with Hafley is I feel like at this point we expected him a few months ago to be a hot head coach candidate. He's not, right? He has not even been requested for an interview across any of the head coach openings in the National Football League. So maybe he uses this time to make a statement, maybe prove to some people around the league like, hey, I should be taken seriously. You mentioned some of the injuries, some of the guys returning from injury for the Chicago Bears. How big of an impact do you think Rome Odunze coming back into the fold is going to be in this one?
Yeah, it seems like he'll be playing as well. Again, filming on Wednesday, but the way they're talking, he should be out there. I think just his impact of being out there, or I think his just him being out there will have an impact, even if he's not a major focal point, because he's just someone else you have to focus on, right? Like if you're Jeff Hafley and you're building a game plan, you have to at least account for Rome Odunze. Now, this isn't, we're not confusing him with Jamar Chase or something like that. But when you talk about the emergence of Colston Loveland and Luther Burden over the last month or so, and I think that's 2 guys Packers fans should really pay attention to. These 2 rookies have become, the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, the two biggest playmakers in the passing game offensively. Well, all of a sudden you bring Rome Odunze back into the mix, even if he's not 100%, even if it is on a bit of a pitch count. You still have DJ Moore, who was excellent last time against Green Bay, obviously down the stretch in particular. That's 4 pretty notable weapons. You may not have that true, peak Tyreek Hill, Jamar, one of those guys, but you got 4 really, really good players. Rome Odunze earlier in the season, before he suffered this foot injury, was playing at a really high level. Him and Caleb Williams were clicking. So we'll see what that looks like. They have not played together since, I want to say, week 12, week 13, so it's been a while, but he's obviously very capable. So I think even if he's more used as just like a decoy, I still think that's a good thing for Chicago, because he's someone else that Jeff Hafley and company have to account for.
Yeah, and I think one thing I really want to discuss going into this game, I think this is a big, big part of it. And we talked about this, I believe it was on Sunday, of the fact that going into this ball game, the Green Bay Packers basically are coming off of a bye. 14 starters did not play against Minnesota this last Sunday, and you flip that around and you look at Chicago, and they got to play this one on a short week.
They played their guys. Now, they're at home, but they played to win.
Yep.
You know, Ben said they went with the simpler game plan in terms of just, hey, let's just try and get into a rhythm. Well, they actually didn't really until the fourth quarter. So,
and football's football.
Yeah, and, does human nature kick in? Was that why they came out flat, already knowing they were in the playoffs? I don't know, but Ben was not happy with how they performed in that football game. Maybe the way they finished, with the fact that they still didn't play well overall. Is it kind of the perfect scenario for the Bears? They still got the 2 seed, but it's kind of a, hey, let's reset, let's lock back in and kind of find that next gear again. Clearly, there's been some defensive issues, which I think we should talk about on the other side of the break. But before we get to that, you guys weigh in on the show. Who you got? Bears, Packers. Type CHI for the Bears, GB for the Packers. You want to drop a score prediction in there, you can do that as well.
Real quickly, we got to give a big shout out to the sponsor of today's show. It's our great friends over at Ethos. As you know, my wife Kennedy and I got married almost 2 years ago. I imagine we'll buy a house and maybe start having kids sometime soon. And if something were to happen to me, the last thing I want the people I love to worry about is being able to pay the bills. So I trust Ethos to keep them protected. After watching someone close to me go through loss, I saw how quickly grief can turn into financial stress. That experience changed how I think about protecting my family. Life insurance isn't about expecting the worst, but it's about making sure the people you love are supported no matter what. And that's why I recommend life insurance through Ethos, which you can get a free quote at ethos.com/NFL daily. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy because it's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. Application times, of course, may vary. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. Actually, as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Ethos has 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/NFL daily. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/NFL daily. That's ethos.com/NFL daily. Application times and rates may vary.
Let's talk about the Bears defense, Joey. It's been a struggle in recent weeks. I mean, really all year, they kind of, I want to say through about that Eagles game, and it's still carried over in terms of turnovers. Now, they've only had 1 each of the last 2 weeks, but they do lead the NFL in takeaways. But for about 2/3, if not 3/4 of the season this year, this defense has excelled in 2 areas. Takeaways, third down. Well, they have been horrendous on third down since the first Packers game. If you take out the Cleveland game, Joey, Chicago's given up a over 57% conversion rate on third down. The worst in the NFL for the season long is 47%.
Yeah.
So it has been a problem. They can't get off the field. They have been beaten in time of possession by over 10 minutes on average in the last 3 games, or in those 4 out of 5 games as well, the 2 Packers games, the Lions game, and the 49ers game. And it's a big question mark heading into this game of what can Dennis Allen do, because they don't have a good pass rush. Yes, Jalen Johnson's back, but he doesn't look like himself. Nashawn Wright has come back to earth in recent weeks. He's not getting takeaways anymore. The linebackers feel slow. Both TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds have been hurt as well, so it feels like they're not 100%. So there's a big debate. Is Dennis Allen just not good? Is it a culmination of the injuries? I choose to believe the latter more so because I think he has a pretty good track record. But I think a big factor in this game is, can the Bears defense do enough to just get into the fourth quarter with the chance to win this game? That'll be the big question, because against Detroit, yeah, the scoreboard says 19 points. They were good in the red zone, and that matters, and forcing field goals will help, but they give up over 430 yards, and guys are running free all day. If I'm Matt LaFleur, and I think this is something for your audience and Packers fans, middle of the field throwing, the Bears have not defended it well at all the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, when I think we have to talk about that first statistic you said, their third down defense. And we got to realize they're facing a team in Green Bay that has the best third down offensive conversion rate in the National Football League. Now, that might have gone down just a tad in Week 18 when Clayton Tune was running the offense.
We won't count that.
Yeah, we're not going to count that game. We're going to say first 17 weeks.
He was so bad he got cut.
He was for Desmond Ridder. Yeah, that's a bad sign. But regardless, you're playing a team that has made their money on converting on third downs. In fact, the only couple of games this year where they look just absolutely futile on the offensive side of the ball, I'm talking about the first half against Pittsburgh. I'm talking about the entire game against Philadelphia. It was because they were not converting on third down. So that's a big part of this team's ability to have success, because outside of the Carolina Panthers game, typically when they get to the red zone, if they can have long, sustained drives, they're going to be able to put it in the end zone. One thing I'm looking to today, which I think probably leans in favor of the Chicago Bears, is the Green Bay Packers rushing offense. I think the weather is going to somehow affect that tonight, because you're going to have to run the football more with all the snow that's expected to come, or on Saturday night, excuse me. Will they be able to finally get things going on the ground, which they really haven't been able to do this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're the Bears, look, the pass defense is going to be a challenge regardless. So, you have to slow down the run first.
Yep.
If Josh Jacobs is getting five a carry, it's going to be a long day, because we know if Jordan Love has time, chances are with how this back seven has looked the last few weeks, it's probably not going to go well. I would expect Dennis Allen to probably go back to playing more zone and force Jordan Love to dink and dunk. And if they're playing zone-heavy concepts, you're probably going to face some lighter boxes if you're Matt LaFleur. So I'd be turning and handing the ball off to number 8 and seeing how effective that looks. And if he's healthier, does he have some juice back in those legs? Because in that second game against in this matchup, I mean, he played, but he didn't really.
Yep.
I mean, they leaned on Emmanuel Wilson for the majority of that game. So, yeah, I think that's a big factor in this game both ways. If Green Bay can run the ball well, I think they got to be feeling pretty good about their chances. If Chicago can stop the run, that at least gives them a chance. If they can get into third and medium, third and long, maybe Kyler Gordon gives them a spark. If nothing else, in run support, playing downhill, I'll be curious to see how he's moving laterally and backward and stuff like that. CJ Gardner-Johnson's very doubtful to play in the concussion protocol, but he's been getting cooked recently too. So, I think Chicago has to stop the run first, and if they don't, it's going to be a real struggle.
Another big matchup I'm looking forward to is Zach Tom against Sweat.
Yep.
Because this is going to be Zach Tom's first game out there since Week 15 against Denver, and he only played about 20 snaps in that one. And you could see the quarterback pressure rate without him in the ball game. They averaged 40.5%. That would have been third worst in the National Football League. It is absolutely massive that he's going to be back playing in this game. I saw somebody on Twitter say, I think the easy thing to say is the Green Bay Packers haven't won a football game since Micah Parsons went down. He goes, I think the thing we need to be saying is they haven't won a football game since Zach Tom went down, because you're finally going to be getting him back. And we got to think about Week 16. It felt like Chicago was in the backfield and pressuring Jordan Love all night long.
Yeah, I mean, even Austin Booker, I know they were both penalties, but he got back there multiple times.
He gave him a lick on that
Montez
concussion.
Sweat, I don't know how Malik Willis held on to that ball at the end of regulation. Yeah. But I think Sweat is an X factor for the Bears, not only in this game, but if they're going to make a playoff run. He's the one guy that has skins on the wall in this league that he's kind of a streaky shooter. He's probably not living up to his contract, but he has these stretches where he feels kind of dominant. Now, it hasn't been as much recently, and the inconsistency has certainly been frustrating. I've said for years now he's a great number 2. You're asking him to be your ace to make a baseball comp. He's not an ace. He's a number 2 in a 5-man rotation, so he's having to play above his weight, and, teams double him a lot because he's the one big threat, and he's not like a Micah Parsons where he can beat double teams consistently. So does Green Bay leave Zach Tom on an island with Montez Sweat, and who wins that matchup? I think that's a huge part of this game because, Booker's flash. We'll see if he can get back there some. The Bears' defensive tackles are kind of just okay. Grady Jarrett is beyond his prime. He'll pop every once in a while. Javon Dexter will make a play or two during the game. Billings is pretty good against the run, but it's almost more of like just a rotation unit there in the middle. So can Sweat, can Booker get around the edge and get Jordan Love uncomfortable? Because if they don't, and if they can isolate their tackles one-on-one and just give them more options with their personnel groupings, I think that's advantage Green Bay.
Something we've discussed a lot on this channel that could be possibly advantage Green Bay as well is the fact that you got a quarterback at Caleb Williams. This is going to be his first ever playoff start.
Yep.
Now, obviously, on the other side of the football, Jordan Love's first ever playoff start went very, very well for him. You got a head coach in Ben Johnson where, he's coordinated playoff games before, but he's never been a head coach in a playoff game before. Do you think that adds a little bit of weight, especially when you got a guy like Matt LaFleur on the other sideline who has coached in a lot of playoff games in his tenure?
Well, they're not talking as if it is. Look, one thing about Caleb Williams is he's a very confident individual.
Yep.
And I think the one thing that will benefit him in this situation is he as a person has been in the spotlight for so long.
Yeah, he really
since he was in high school. I mean, you think about him coming into that Red River game, Texas, Oklahoma, for a bench Spencer Rattler and leading one of the greatest comebacks in the history of that rivalry. He had to be in constant shootouts at USC because they just could not get stops defensively. And this year, Joey, they've been in a lot of tight games, and he's delivered a lot. I mean, even in the game they lost at Lambeau Field, they stormed back, got all the way down inside the 15 with the chance to win, and, didn't throw a great ball. Keyshawn Nixon picked him off, but got him in position to win that game. So he has elevated his game in big moments. So I don't think the moment will be too big, but you never know, right?
Yep.
You don't know how someone is going to respond in a playoff environment. You would think being at home helps in terms of just like the pre-snap operation. That shouldn't be too chaotic and those type of things and just kind of calm the nerves early on. I think early in this game is critical for the Bears. They have not started games off well early on for the better half of the second half. They're having to always play from behind. I think eventually that catches up to you.
Yeah.
It's just too hard. I mean, even last week, it's miraculous they got that game tied. They were down 16-0 in the fourth quarter. Then it's like, I guess we're going to start playing. Touchdown, two-point conversion, touchdown, two-point conversion. And they actually got the ball back, tied with a few minutes left, and it could not seal the deal, had to punt, and then Detroit drove it down and won. But you look at these first quarter numbers offensively. That Niners game, they technically had 14 points, but 7 of those were off a pick 6. So even in that game where they dropped 38 on San Francisco, they didn't really get going until the second quarter offensively. So I just think if you're the Bears, you can't afford to go a quarter and a half, 2 quarters, and have like 3 or less points on the board, especially with the state of this defense right now. So we always talk about the fourth quarter. It probably will be close late. I actually think how this game starts is very important because if the Bears start well, I like their chances. If they don't and have to play constant catch-up, pressure mounts, playoff game, even for this group who has been great in big spotlight situations this year, this is a whole different level playing in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned pressure, and we discussed this a little bit before filming this video. It's very rare for the home team to have less pressure in a game than their opponent. And I feel like that's the case this week. Look, Chicago isn't supposed to be here right now. In the first year of Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, they weren't supposed to have the 2 seed. They probably weren't supposed to win the NFC North. They probably weren't supposed to host a home game. But they're doing all of those things, and Ben Johnson has not even been in Chicago for a calendar year. Matt LaFleur has a little bit of heat on his seat. Now, I don't want to say it's incredibly hot, but Jordan Love automatically is getting compared to guys like Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, who won dozens of playoff games. won Super Bowls, each of them. And so there's a immense amount of pressure on Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur to not go one and done again.
Yeah, I do think the pressure's more on Green Bay. I don't think this is – I wouldn't call it a house money spot for Chicago because, listen, the NFL is wide open this year. You don't know when you're going to get your next opportunity. So I think any team in the playoffs this year has to view it like, hey, man, like this could be our best shot. So, like, I think the Bears are viewing it that way. But I think in a vacuum, there is more pressure on Green Bay.
Yes.
If the 7th seed didn't exist, it would be a 4-year playoff drought. For the Packers. I think that's noteworthy. If the Bears had won 8 or 9 games this year and Caleb Williams had taken the step forward, that would still probably have been considered a successful first year for Ben Johnson. So I am in agreement that the pressure is more on the Packers. That should help the Bears playing at home. But sometimes when you have a team that hasn't been in the playoffs for a while, if you start slow, you can almost feel the anxiety of the crowd, right? Like some young teams, you would actually rather be on the road. Now, I'm not saying I'd rather the Bears be on the road. I think in a year like this, you want to be at home, and I think in general you do. But it's just you wonder, like, if they get down 10-0 early, like what happens, right? Like, can they do what they've done all year and fight back and make it a game, or does it get weird? So it's going to be very interesting. There's a lot of storylines in this game, a lot of key matchups, and I can't wait to see it all play out. You got a prediction for us?
I think it's low scoring.
Okay.
Because of the weather aspect. I think the winner wins by 3 points or less. And I think it's Green Bay. I think everybody right now, after the 4-game losing streak, is writing them off. But they got a healthy Jordan Love, healthy Zach Tom, healthy Josh Jacobs, coming off a bye week, basically. I like this spot for Matt LaFleur.
It's a big spot for him because if they lose, I don't think they'll move on. But, like, there will be chatter.
There will be chatter, for sure.
Just Ben Johnson knocked you out in year 1? Interesting.
Yep.
I kind of went similar, but the Bears way in my early week prediction. I said 27-24. That feels a tick high as the weather has kind of progressed throughout the week, so maybe it's more like 24-21. I do feel confident in the Bears if it's close in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Which is why if you're Green Bay, like you want to start fast. So gonna be a fun game. We'll be live on each of our channels on Saturday night. So if you're a Packers fan, go check out Joey Peterson. Of course, if you're a Bears fan, check me out here on Bears Now. 7 o'clock Central Time. So we'll be live well before then on our respective channels. So hit that subscribe button. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this preview. We will see you guys next time.